Hello everyone, thanks for watching again today here on Chicagoland Veteran Advisors. So as you've watched, we've covered guys who are experts in the veteran entrepreneur space, getting businesses started up. We've talked to guys who've established employee resource groups for veterans at different organizations, as well as a myriad of nonprofits for veterans. So to kind of round that out for everyone, we're going to start talking to veterans every now and again who've made the transition out of the service into civilian life successfully. So today I have with me Tom Seithel, who's a good friend of mine. We did spend some time together in the Army and some time together in Iraq, who left service just a few years ago and has been transitioning and finding his way ever since. So Tom, thanks for coming out today.
Thanks for having me, I appreciate it.
So what we're going to do today is we're kind of just going to let Tom tell us how he made it out, what decisions he made, you know, what drove him towards the different decision points. So why don't you just give us a little bit of background on yourself, where you came from, you know, what got you into the Army, what you did there, and what happened when you left?
Actually, I grew up outside the city in a small suburb that you might be familiar with, Crystal Lake. So I wasn't part of the big city or any of the big moves that people my age were making at the time. I did initially follow the cookie cutter family, which was you go to high school, you play your sports, get involved in your after-school activities, you go to college,
right.
And then the next step, obviously, was getting a white-collar job. I broke that mold in my family that they were a little confused about. I left college. Actually, I was out at Seton University in New Jersey.
Okay.
I left after the first year. I was a little scatterbrained. I wanted to do all sorts of things, and I wasn't settling down. That was right actually around the time that the towers went down.
Okay.
We saw the towers go down from our campus. That's how close we were to New York.
Wow.
So I remember walking around campus and the students were saying, well, if I was in the military, I would do this, that, or the other. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one from that campus that decided to actually go into service. But there were these essential mile markers that fall within the military that I needed. I needed to focus. I wanted to learn true leadership, discipline. These were all very important things to me that were going to drive me forward. Also, I've always had an interest with federal agencies.
Okay.
And there's no better mark for distinction than combat experience.
Right.
So when I left Seton Hall, I signed up for the military in 2002, the Army. On contrary to common belief, when the recruiters, everyone wants to hate on the recruiters. Mine asked the question, why? Why do you want to go into the Army? Don't you want to finish school?
Right.
And I said, no, I want to go. So ended up leaving, joined artillery. At the time went out to Fort Sill, did my training at Fort Sill. And then I've got about 2 weeks at Fort Hood, Texas,
okay.
Where they gave me all my gear and put me on a plane. So this was 2003 to 2004.
Okay.
So we were there. My unit got there a little bit earlier than I did, but I joined up with them in the summer of 2003 and finished out my tour there. And then obviously when I went on my second tour, 05 to 06, is when I got to meet you.
Yep.
So it was a tremendous experience. Everything from a soldier's perspective to a leader's perspective when I became an NCO in my second tour.
Okay.
So all these different tools that the military was giving me, I was slowly accruing and keeping in the back of my brain that I was going to use later. I never considered the military a career for myself.
Okay.
I knew that I was just going to use this as a tremendous foot in the door for federal agencies. But the next step was going to be education. So
before we kind of get into the education piece and you transitioning out of the service, you know, you spent 4 or 5 years there. What did you come away with? I mean, there's plenty of tired narratives out there. You know, guys that leave the service are hard workers. Guys that leave, everybody can lead. You know, there's the constant cliches about veterans. What do you feel the service gave you as you walked out the door? You know, besides a swift boot.
Thanks for your service. Good luck out there.
Yep.
You know what comes up time and time again, and I've noticed it from when I was in the military to education and everything, is veterans don't buckle under pressure. And there is a tremendous amount of pressure out there in the work environment. And through school, through different occupations, I see people do something very common, which is a task comes down and they immediately start to complain about it if they can't achieve it. While a veteran may take the approach where he may not agree with how the task is to be completed,
right,
but he does it to a standard or above standard and then comes back to the table with important information on how to improve completing that task later.
That's a common thing that you've seen among your fellow veterans? Okay.
Without a doubt.
So what about soft skills for the veteran? You know, just kind of the ability to get along with people and in different environments and adapt to different things. You know, stuff that's not necessarily on paper. It's not a certification.
No, I understand what you're saying. It's, you know, it's kind of funny when you look at it in the respect that a lot of people see soldiers come back from different combat environments and they assume that we hold things against the cultures that we experience when we're out there, depending on the country or something like that, and that we may come back and we're not all mentally there, or maybe we're just a little jaded, and we separate ourselves from the civilian population. That isn't the case. That isn't the case at all. When I came back, I was trying to get reintegrated into the civilian population. And so I actually spent more time with civilian friends and new people that I was meeting rather than veterans, because I wanted to be on the inside of what culture was doing in the United States at the time, since I was so withdrawn. I was interested in just the conversations that were going on, what the views of those individuals who had no combat experience, no military in the family even, what they thought of what we were doing, what they thought or how they accomplished these certain tasks that we were now supposed to do. So a soft skill would be just understanding. We're very patient and an understanding. So
I guess that would depend on who you ask. No, but I think you're right. I think the level of professional patience is there for a lot of veterans, and I think really the personal patience is where I've seen, since I've left the service, I've found that my ability just to kind of be patient with people in general, for the most part, you know, usually after I've had my first cup of coffee, is there. So
caffeine is a necessity.
Oh man. So take us through. You're currently attending Loyola.
That's correct.
Take us through kind of, you know, leaving the service, that transition into education. You know, your majors, what caused you to choose them, things like that.
Well, I always knew that I wanted to get into federal government. You know, I wanted to stay away from municipal, your local police, your things of that nature. So I came out with an idea that I did want to get into federal law enforcement. That really narrowed the scope when it came to education. Instead of going to a school and saying, oh, you know, I want to do business, I want to do accounting, I want to do law or you know, pre-med, I knew it was criminal justice and criminology for me. I knew that was a block that I needed, the education I needed to kind of fuel this drive to the federal agencies. So when I got out of service, I wanted to hit the ground running. And boy did I. I actually went to a city college out here first and got rid of all the preliminaries, all your English, all your maths, all your sciences, everything like that, because I knew when I went to the university that was when, you know, the important substance classes were going to take place. So after doing my 2 years at Harold Washington downtown here, that's when I went up to Loyola, and the military experience really came out. I would say it helped tremendously, where I was able to understand situations and people's thinking within criminology and theory within the criminal justice system a lot easier than most.
So how would you compare and contrast, you know, your year at Seton Hall versus your first year at Loyola? How were you different? What did the service do?
I think focused, determined. When I was young, I was just out of high school when I went to Seton Hall, so I wanted the college experience, is what they say. I was going to go to school, but I wanted to party, I wanted to have a good time, I wanted to be a part of athletics, I mean, just the full scope of it. But when I got to Loyola for my first year, obviously I was older, I had to grow up extremely fast in the military. So here was this adult coming to Loyola, and as sad as it sounds, I wasn't there to make friends. I wasn't there, you know, to be a part of the athletics. I was there to strive for excellence in education and try and be a part of any organizations that would benefit me, like Student UN or something of that nature, or internships for that matter.
Well, that makes sense. just went back to start work on my master's about a year ago, and was amazed at how much better of a student I am now than I was 10 years ago. So, and I think the military has an awful lot to do with that, and your ability to focus and understand what's important and avoid the superfluous. So you have done that. You're working at Loyola. You've kind of worked your way out of the service. You're not too far from graduating.
No, not at all. One semester away.
There you go. So you've federal law enforcement. That's what you've wanted to do for
Absolutely.
forever. So you are interning with the FBI? Or
just finished up with the FBI.
So
Correct.
walk us through what that was like, and kind of how you got there. How'd you find that internship?
Well, something I'm trying to help veterans with at Loyola is understanding your avenues of approach.
Okay.
You need to make these connections with faculty and staff because they truly do have that extension of friendship to these federal agencies.
Okay.
So when you go to speak with your advisors, don't just ask them which classes you're going to take. You need to find out whether they're a part of State Department, FBI, CIA. It may not even be so much that it's the faculty or staff that's associated through the university, but they may have done a program to help out the FBI, which is how I got my internship. It wasn't necessarily that the FBI comes to Loyola and says, give me your students, because they're very selective.
So it was more of a go out and get it type thing.
Essentially, yeah. It was a professor who they said is the resident bones. And so she does identification through the remains of human beings to...
Forensic pathology type stuff?
And she said, go out, this is the person to get in contact with, and when you get in contact with them, come back to me, and then we'll structure through that what your references, your papers, everything that you're going to do with them. So
okay. So what was the internship like? I mean, what did you take away from it?
I initially thought I was just going to be getting a lot of donuts and coffee. So I'm glad that wasn't the case.
Right.
It was just a whole menagerie of different opportunities. I went through different database systems to help them compile evidence and information, filing systems, which you're going to have to know because it's not all Jason Bourne.
Right.
Then serving federal warrants, things like that nature, going out into the field with them when they're doing their investigations. It was just this entire all-encompassing experience with them that I think is really going to benefit me.
So I'm guessing that just made you want to be in the FBI more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's good.
You can't go back to, no offense, Chicago Police Department after getting a taste of what a federal agency is like.
No, absolutely. I completely understand that. All right, so in conclusion, you grew up, you went through the 9/11 experience like so many of us did. We were, our generation of veteran, most of us were that 18 to 22 years old when that happened.
Right.
Joined the service, you took away some great personal improvements and qualities, it sounds like, and got your education and are headed towards the professional career field you want to be in.
That is correct.
So I think any transition center counselor would say you are literally exactly what they want to happen.
I hope I am.
So that being said, last 5 years of your life, what in 60 seconds would you tell some 24-year-old kid leaving the service?
Don't get discouraged, for one. Just keep your head straight and forward. If you have a goal, you will achieve that goal. You have the necessary tools to do so.
Okay.
Also, understand all avenues of approach. It's just not through the university. It's through the state and municipal government as well. So if you reach this roadblock with getting benefits or being heard, there are those people to see.
Yep.
Which can solve these problems like that, but a lot of veterans push it to the side and say that we don't want to bother someone or we don't know who to talk to. But also your support system is extremely important, your family, your friends. I mean, faculty, staff at the university, these are all very important tools that you need to use to further yourself. Don't go in alone.
Okay. So, I think that's extremely salient advice. So Tom, thanks for taking the time today.
Appreciate it.
And for everyone watching, this is one veteran's perspective on the best way to tackle your post-transition life. So thanks for watching today. Hit the subscribe button and we'll see you again soon.